Iraq, not Iran. I knew why, because I'd been through the Pentagon right after 9/11. About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you gotta come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No, he says, "We've made the decision, we're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq, why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me." And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, "You remember that?" He said, "Sir, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you."
I'm sorry.
Because I'd been through the Pentagon right after 9/11. About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you gotta come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision, we're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq, why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
And then Syria.
We had a chance to talk about a wide range of international issues, including the situation in Syria. And I have to say that all of us who've been seeing the terrible pictures coming out of Syria and Homs recently recognize it is absolutely imperative for the international community to rally and send a clear message to President Assad that it is time for a transition, it is time for that regime to move on, and it is time to stop the killing of Syrian citizens by their own government.
Lebanon.
They both had different reasons, the State Department and the White House, for wanting Israel to do it, encouraging him to do it, supporting them. Our Air Force worked very closely with the Israeli Air Force for months before this, not necessarily with a deadline knowing when it would happen. It was always going to be whenever there was an incident, they would take advantage of an incident. The word I used was fortunate timing. When Hezbollah grabbed some of the Israeli soldiers in early July, that was then a pretext, I think that's the only word, for a major offensive that had been in the works a long time.
Libya. Today we can definitively say that the Gaddafi regime has come to an end. The last major regime strongholds have fallen. The new government is consolidating the control over the country, and one of the world's longest-serving dictators is no more.
Somalia.
Well, violence isn't only on the rise in Afghanistan. In fact, it looks like America's shadow wars have now increased by one. Drone strikes have long been reported in Pakistan and Yemen, but now there's news that a week ago, a U.S. drone aircraft fired on 2 leaders of the Somali organization Al-Shabaab.
Sudan.
President Obama is sending 100 combat-equipped troops to Central Africa to advise local forces on getting rid of one of the continent's most vicious operatives, Joseph Kony, the head of the Lord's Resistance Army, a group responsible for atrocities across the region. It's the first open deployment of U.S. ground combat power to Africa since the Black Hawk Down incident in Somalia in the 1990s that killed 18 troops. U.S. troops may wind up now in Uganda, South Sudan, the Central African Republic, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It's part of a growing military effort to engage in Africa.
Finishing off, Iran. I said, is it classified? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, you remember that? He said, sorry, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you.
I'm sorry, what did you say his name was?
I'm not going to give you his name.
So go through the countries again.
Well, starting with Iraq, then Syria and Lebanon, then Libya, then Somalia and Sudan, and then back to Iran.
Jeremiah 50, verse 22. A sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Right. So Babylon the Great is America. All right. It's prophesied right here, man. All right. The nation Babylon the Great has been the hammer dropping bombs on different countries, especially out in the Middle East. They had it planned out. You know, the 5-year plan to conquer seven countries, as you just saw in the previous footage. You know, so I mean, it's been out there. It's been planned out, and it's the spirit too, because this General Wesley Clark, he was a former NATO commander. All right, so he used to command all these different all the different militaries, man. You know. Says, how has Babylon become a desolation among the nation? Right. This proves that America, aka Babylon the Great, is what the scriptures is talking about, man. All right. There is no other nation, all right, who's caused as much destruction, all right, chaos across the globe. But I'm going to read on. It says, verse 24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. So the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, laid a snare for America. All right. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. Right. So what America making all these backroom deals and forming these different alliances, man. All right. The Most High is gonna catch him. Is gonna catch America up in that snare. All right. So those of you who question whether America is Babylon the Great, take a look at the footage again that put in the beginning of this video, man. All right, and there's other proofs and evidence out there. All right, you know, without a doubt, beyond a doubt, America is Babylon the Great. All right, and the Most High will destroy this place. And also caught because thou hast striven against the Lord. That's why they're going to be America is going to be destroyed, man, because it's striven against the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right. The Lord has opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. That's talking about what, man? The militaries and the nuclear weapons, man. The ICBM nuclear missiles. All right. About 200 million of them is coming to hit this place and rock the shores of Babylon the Great. All right. It says, for this is the work of the Lord power, or Yahweh of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. Come against her from the utmost border. Open her storehouses. Cast her up as heaps and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Verse 27, slay all her bullocks, and let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. Verse 28, the voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion, that's talking about the elect, to declare in Zion the vengeance of the Lord, our power. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, the vengeance of his temple. All right, who's the temple? The temple of David, man, the third temple. All right, i.e., the elect, the house of David. Verse 29, call together the archers against Babylon. Who are the archers, man? These different nations, man. All right. Who came to hate the whore, who was also America, aka Babylon the Great. All right, against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work. That's the Most High catching America in that snare, man. All right, mention a couple verses up. Back in verse 24, it says, I have laid a snare for thee. What's that snare? Verse 29, call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. All right, so America is caught in a snare, don't even realize it. All right, this place is going to be utterly destroyed. Again, further proof, America is Babylon the Great, man. All right, let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she have done, being the hammer of the whole earth. All right, causing upheaval in different nations, toppling regimes. All right, for conquest, for resources. All right, but as you can see in the videos, the video that was at the beginning of this video. All right, it was already planned out, man, to conquer 7 countries, man, in 5 years. All right, so these devils are going to be recompensed, man. They're caught in the snare, ultimately, of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. It says, according to all that she have done, do unto her. That's right, for she have been proud against the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, against the Holy One of Israel. Right, so the Most High is the one that's recompensing America, man. This is not the will of man. The prophecy is playing out right now. All right. 30. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua of hosts. So the Most High is against this place, man. Completely, and wants to utterly destroy it. All right, and he's setting these countries up, man, to be his archers, to nuke the hell out of this place. 200 million thermonuclear missiles. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. Right. So the Most High is gonna is gonna come and dethrone you devils, man. Verse 32, and the most proud shall stumble and fall, none shall raise him up, and I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him. What does that sound like to you, man? Thermonuclear destruction. All right. But I'll leave it there. Hopefully you are edified. Till the next time, Shalom.